Alright, so I've been wanting to chat to you guys actually about a game I played a while back. No, it's a good while ago. It was Metroid Dread, which I think was my first Metroid game, apart from dabbling with Fusion a few years back. I'll say this, guys, see this game honestly blew me away by how much I bloody loved it. I really enjoyed the game, and it definitely kickstarted me on playing a lot more of the series and Metroidvanias in general. So let's have a wee chat, guys, about Metroid Dread. First and foremost, when it comes to Metroidvania, I have covered a few in the channel, but I think everyone seems to enjoy different aspects of Metroidvanias. Some people, they love the exploration and exploring kind of every nook and cranny. Others, maybe they prefer the sense of progression with getting new abilities, and some even just prefer types of combat that you get in some Metroidvanias. Me personally, I'd actually say I think Metroid Dread does pretty damn good in most aspects of these, albeit I'm not sure everyone would maybe agree with me on that part. So Metroid Dread, it actually does quite a bit to shake up the formula somewhat. I would say the exploration in this game, to me, I definitely liked it a lot, but I can understand how it might have others, especially fans of the genre, a wee bit rattled. Dread's very different than most Metroidvanias. It doesn't have a massive sprawling open-ended world where you're kind of left wandering aimlessly around, like say like the likes of Hollow Knight, or even a more open design like Super. And like I said, I do think that might bum some people out a wee bit. Do get it though, like some people would have loved way more freedom to poke around every corner of the planet. But for me, I'd say the tighter, more focused design just clicked. It done well at keeping the pace and snappy, and I never felt like I was wasting time backtracking or just scratching my head over where to go next. It's very organic in its approach, and it just leads you to the next areas without you realizing half the time, to be honest, until you try and backtrack, and then you realize you can't because of a blocked pathway or whatever. Knowing what I know now as well, because obviously I've went back and played a lot of the Metroid games, it does still have the classic Metroid vibe. You're still hunting for secrets, you're still using your abilities to open up new paths, but it's streamlined a lot more here in a way that kept me mentally, and to be honest, Samus maybe physically, locked in the whole time. There's these times where you're just progressing through an area, you'll spot a sneaky upgrade just behind a wall, and then you're hooked on figuring out how to actually go about getting it, that I found really fun. And it's really satisfying, just without being overwhelming in general, and I'm all about that. Now, you can't have a good Metroidvania without some upgrades. And make no doubt about it, in Metroid Dread, they are absolutely amazing. I love them. Now, bear in mind, guys, Metroid Dread was my first ever proper Metroid game. Every time I actually did pick up a new upgrade, I was excited to use them either in combat or just to see how they'd be incorporated into the overall game because they were so new to me. The iconic Morph Ball stood out to me right away. The Morph Ball is so fun to use, and it's easy to see, why it is such a staple in every game of the series. The grapple beam as well, it feels so good to use, and don't even get me started on the hyper beam towards the end. That thing is such a joy and a total game changer. And what I love, they're not just cool toys either, they really do tie into the exploration and combat so perfectly. For example, there's a part where you grab something like the speed booster and suddenly you're just blasting through walls you just couldn't touch before. And as a new player at the time, I honestly loved using every ability in my arsenal. It really does. It has that classic loop of powering up and having Samus feel like a fucking T-800, but with the movement of a ballerina, and Dread absolutely nails it. Playing through this game every time I found an ability, I honestly couldn't wait just to see what the next one was and how it's going to shake up the gameplay, because it was constantly keeping shit fresh. And speaking of Terminators, this game does not mess around with its difficulty. It is tough, sometimes actually really tough. And as an enjoyer of Souls-likes and getting better at a game as I play, I loved every second of the difficulty. And actually having tried Metroid Fusion a few years ago and noticing the similarities in the tension to being stalked by, I think it's the X-Parasite in Fusion, just seeing a spin on that almost with the Emmy encounters. Those creepy ass robots that are basically stalking you through these zones. I thought it was a very cool attempt, although it does get old pretty quickly, but there's some pretty cool tension right there. Sneaking around, hearing the little theme that plays and then just running for your life. It was really fun until it wasn't, and then it was a wee bit more tedious. The bosses in this game, They are definitely more challenging than I probably expected. Some of them had me down over and over again until I finally figured out just what their little unique patterns, which was really cool. But it was actually similar enough to like a FromSoft game. When you finally nail it, there's like a little rush of victory. And it's I don't know, it's so satisfying, as sad as it sounds. It's definitely a hard enough game at times, but I'll say this, it's at least very fair. It demands you to actually play it by its rules, and I was 100% up for that challenge. And it's been a while like since I played a game that really pushed me like that and made me feel so rewarded for sticking with it. Guys, that last boss, Raven fucker, that was my Sunday morning spent pulling my hair out, but it was fantastic. And also on that, actually how it performs the game, I am very, very, very frame rate conscious in games, annoyingly so, but with this game performance-wise, I can't fault it. I've got nothing but praise on how this runs. You're playing it on the Switch, it runs flawlessly. Like, I did not notice a single hiccup. Not one noticeable frame drop. Pretty much, I had buttery smooth gameplay from start to finish, which was great. For a game this fast-paced and detailed, that is truly impressive. The visuals in this game, guys, they're outstanding. I'm sure you probably played it yourself, but the colors, they just really pop. And those deep blacks you get on an OLED just makes the darker areas feel a bit more atmospheric, I guess. The art design is amazing, which is par for the course with Metroid. You've got all these eerie alien landscapes and sleek Samus animations, but on that OLED screen, it's straight up breathtaking. Now, if you put a gun to my head and I had to nitpick, I guess some might say the simplified exploration could have been opened up a tiny bit more. Especially if you're a die-hard fan of the older games where you had more room to roam. And yeah, for me personally, the enemy sections did wear thin after a while. They're intense for a bit and they do change up the gameplay, but they pop up a lot more and eventually became a bit of a chore rather than a part that I enjoyed. But these are tiny, tiny gripes in the grand scheme of things for me. Metroid Dread hit all the right notes and then some. So yeah, wrapping this up, I'm a huge fan of what they've done here. The streamlined exploration kept me engaged. The upgrades had me geeking out. The difficulty gave me that From Software rush. And it all runs and looks flawlessly on the Switch, especially the OLED. I'd say it's easily one of my favourite games I've played in the past few years, hands down. But guys, what do you think? Did Dread hook you as hard as it did for me? Did it live up to your expectations of what you wanted in a Metroid? Hit me up with your takes. I would love to hear them in the comments below, and like and subscribe to the next one.